The Supreme Court should right the constitutional wrong and take a step back from acting as a super legislative body and restore the federalist principle that the states have a right to regulate abortion and allow the states to take steps forward, because not all states will do this, but many states will, to start to protect in more aggressive ways the rights and the humanity of unborn human beings. I guess I'll begin with the Supreme Court argument this week over the abortion issue. The Supreme Court, for those of you who have been awake, is considering, frankly, whether to overturn the Roe versus Wade decision, which essentially legalized abortion throughout the entire 9 months of pregnancy, abortion on demand. And now the Supreme Court is considering a challenge to that ruling through a Mississippi law that prohibits, in large measure, abortions after the 15th week of pregnancy. Judicial Watch filed an amicus brief. Many amicus briefs were filed, as you might imagine, asking the court to overturn Roe versus Wade. You know, in our view is, first of all, the rule of law should prevail, the Constitution should prevail, and the Constitution doesn't mention abortion. And this is an essentially police power that the states have, that in past history, states have been allowed to regulate abortion and to balance the right to life of the unborn human being versus the alleged liberty interests of the pregnant mother. And the Roe versus Wade decision blew all that up. And in my view, and the view of Judicial Watch and the view of many others, the Supreme Court should right the constitutional wrong and take a step back from acting as a super legislative body and restore the federalist principle that the states have a right to regulate abortion and allow the states to take steps forward, because not all states will do this, but many states will, to start to protect in more aggressive ways the rights and the humanity of unborn human beings. Judicial Watch wrote in its amicus brief, far from creating a national consensus, Roe threw the states into a 48-year contentious legal battle. Even some abortion advocates, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is the deceased Supreme Court Justice, eschew the injudicious method of federalizing abortion as short-circuiting a naturally evolving jurisprudence under state laws. As federal and state judges attempt to apply this court's precedents, which are kind of all over the place, a national landscape of inconsistent, inconclusive, untenable rules have emerged. As a national policy, abortion jurisprudence is, in a word, a mess. Stubbornly holding on to an unconstitutional precedent will never have a positive outcome. It is time to return abortion policy to the states where it belongs and where the democratic processes can effectively work. And as I noted in our press release related to the decision or the oral argument this week, states must be able to defend life, and a disastrous Roe decision has upended our constitutional order. The Supreme Court has a chance to right a constitutional wrong that will allow the states to step in and begin to protect unborn human life. So I don't know how the decision is going to go. I encourage you to listen to or read the oral argument. I think we can probably provide a link to the Supreme Court website. There should be at least a transcript of the oral argument. The justices, I think there's a majority of the justices that will uphold this law. And I guess the question is there a majority that will overturn Roe versus Wade in its entirety? I'm not sure if that's the case. I suspect it will be at least 5-4 in that regard. Chief Justice Roberts, per usual, is trying to walk a middle ground here and seemed upset in some ways that he was being even asked to consider this issue. So we'll see how it turns out. I've often joked, and many have often joked, that in order for the abortion on demand decision, which is one of the worst decisions in the history of the Supreme Court, to be overturned, that Republicans will have to appoint 9 justices, and it will still be 5-4. So it's going to be a close-run thing. What struck me as president of Judicial Watch was the intemperate remarks of Obama appointee Sonia Sotomayor, who is a Supreme Court Justice, who talked about the stench of the decision-making process if the court overturns Roe versus Wade, because evidently we're not allowed to overturn decisions she likes, but we can overturn decisions she doesn't like. And she's essentially attacking the ethics of her colleagues on the Supreme Court in open court. It was a remarkable thing to see, and kind of sad to see and outrageous to see. But it shows you that the rule of law for these pro-abortion fanatics, including Sotomayor, who is a fanatic on the court in this area, everything gets tossed aside. Judicial temperament, judicial ethics, the rule of law, constitutional government, the idea that we protect the vulnerable in our society. And one of the things we didn't mention in our amicus brief, in our friend of court brief, that's worth mentioning, of course I don't think they asked about this at the Supreme Court, is what has Roe wrought besides the deaths of millions of unborn human beings? It's created, as Judicial Watch has taken the leadership in exposing a market funded with your tax dollars for the fetal body parts, organs, heads, livers, thymuses, things like that, of them to engage in Frankenstein-like scientific research. Humanized mice research Judicial Watch has exposed. So this abortion regime obviously is destroying our next generation, but it's also creating this barbarism in our scientific community, because all these dead unborn human beings are seen as a resource for scientists who have little grounding in ethics and morality, and for politicians who are willing to spend your money to help them use these unborn human beings in Lord knows what processes related to the development of drugs, or, as the FDA has admitted, to ensuring the safety of vaccines. So that was the FDA's response to a recent Judicial Watch disclosure that the FDA was funding fetal organ chop shops. So that's what Roe has wrought. I guess that's kind of hard to say. Roe has wrought, which is not only the deaths of unborn human beings, but this barbarism in the scientific community that I think we'll be regretting for the rest of our history. So I suspect the court will issue its ruling probably the middle of next year, by June or sometime in June. So we'll see. In the meantime, Texas has a law that is still in effect that protects human beings in the sense that unborn human beings with a heartbeat are prohibited from being killed through abortion. And the left is apoplectic over that. I mean, that shows you the extremism of the pro-abortion group that is controlling our media, controlling our government now, and unfortunately has been controlling our judiciary. So hopefully that we're able as a country to move forward to expanding the right to life to include the most vulnerable, the unborn. So we'll see what happens. And God bless Texas for taking additional steps. God bless Mississippi for taking steps to try to protect the right to life. And hopefully Roe, the abomination, will be overturned, and additional states, and maybe even the federal government, can then begin to take steps to protect the right to life of innocent preborn human beings. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.